but with curiosity and learning. I want to make sure that it's always important using AI. I think it's important to interrogate the role it's taking and the information it's giving you. So I've been intentional saying be an expert executive coach, but I've also said more in line with ICF's emphasis on presence and reflective practice. So it's a really important thing to funnel the AI that you're using in the direction where you think it can create value. So I'm trying to amplify the likelihood of my interaction with it giving me a really productive outcome. So you'll see that. So that's just a bit of context. You can see the prompt. I gave it a little bit more context. It just cut it off in the chat. I couldn't paste it all, but I'm going to now share my screen and let's just see it. So real life, I'm going to be talking about non-identifying names and roles and things, but it will be, a real situation I've found myself in it was only a few weeks ago that I found myself in this situation. And I did this. So I'm just going to share my screen. So I'm using, for this one, I use different clients, but I'm just going to use, and I'm going to share sound, optimize for video sharing. Great. I'm on Mac, so I'm just using the Mac OS version of ChatGPT. I'm just using the 4.0 version of it. So you'll see that I've pasted the prompt in. When I pasted the prompt in, it went to talk about it text, but I'm just going to tell it now and hopefully it works okay. Thank you for reading the prompt, ChatGPT. Could we please do this reflective process using voice?
Absolutely. Let's do this with voice. I'll ask you the first question now. When you noticed yourself stepping in more during the session, what were you hoping to achieve in those moments?
I think I was buying into the urgency that the person I'm coaching. They're very fast paced and they use a lot of tangential thinking. They go on a lot of tangents. And so I think I was trying to keep up in some ways with the thinking, but it was really quite impossible because the person's regularly goes in tangents.
Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like you were trying to match the client's pace and thinking style. Here's the next question. How did stepping in more impact your presence and the space you were holding for the client?
Good question. I think it took me away from holding the space of being of service to the client. And I started to step in, I noticed, and I'm not proud of it, but I'm human. And I noticed I was trying to show my value. I started to slip into that slippery slope of that trap of trying to show my value to the client. That's what I find myself reflecting on.
Thank you for that honest reflection. It's great that you're noticing these patterns. Next question. What might have been different if you had stayed fully present and allowed more silence or space for the client's thoughts to unfold?
I think I wouldn't feel this tension that I feel now, that I slipped away from the initial contracting and my role of the coach that I hope to bring to such engagements. As I reflect too, as I listen to your questions, I'm thinking, why didn't I just pause? Why didn't I just take a moment? Or why didn't I even just mention to the client when they went on one of those tangents to say something like, I noticed you're going on some different tangents, and then just holding the space. I'll pause there.
That's a powerful reflection. Recognizing that space and silence can be just as valuable as speaking is a great insight. Final question. How might you use this experience to realign with your coaching intention and presence in future sessions?
What it's taught me is to regularly hold in mind and go back to the initial contracting. Now, initial contracting in a coach-coachee relationship can change, but just interrogate it. I think in hindsight, there were some urgent things the coachee was dealing with, and I moved away, or we moved away from the initial contracting. So in hindsight, as I reflect on this now, I'd revisit the contracting one by just asking, bringing it back up and asking if it was still relevant or if it's something we need to iterate together.
That's a valuable insight. Revisiting the coaching contract can help maintain alignment and ensure you're both on the same page. Looking ahead, what's one small adjustment you can make in your next session to create more space for the client's reflections and insights?
The good old just listening. But what I will do, I believe, is again, just I think potentially at the start of the next session, ask the client to reflect on our initial contracting and where they feel we might be coming from at the moment. That's all. Thank you.
That sounds like a thoughtful plan. Revisiting the initial contracting and inviting the client to share their perspective will help you both realign and create a more open space. Great reflection.
So thank you very much, ChatGPT, for doing that. I'm going to leave. I appreciate it. But if you could just write me a text summary, no need to reply in voice, but please write me a text summary of this conversation. Also, I'd love it just a high-level executive summary of this in point form. And finally, I'd like a couple of simple meditations I might be able to do